everyone. Welcome to my real estate company. We love to give back and not only teach our agents, but have an open platform for all agents to level up. My name is Lindsay Holland. I am the designated managing broker for both real estate companies that we have here in Texas. I also run my own real estate group, Land by Lindsay Real Estate Group, and I'm sure you hear my little nuggets barking. I will make sure she's taken care of here shortly. Very excited today. One thing I wanted to ask y'all is, when it comes to net sheets, where are you getting your net sheets? In Texas, there's actually a preferred place to get that net sheet. Can you guys drop in the chat, or if you're listening live, let us know where you're getting your net sheets? Because I know when I started real estate 10 years ago, we actually had the net sheet like an Excel spreadsheet on our computer. And then it morphed to where it got really serious, and there were changes in closing costs and title commitment costs and seller considerations and buyer considerations. What happened is a lot of the title companies decided, well, we know what some of the set costs are for the insurances. How about we make it easier on these agents? And why don't we have our seller and buyer net sheets? And mind you, these are estimated. These are not the actual statement that you get at closing, but these are estimated sheets, so we can set expectations with the clients to meet their goals. So yes, several of you are jumping up. They're like, oh my gosh, absolutely. The title company. So the title company is the source. That is where your final statement is going to come from. So the best tools in my mind to help you create the closest estimate and to make those adjustments, because every deal is different. There's not always going to be the same fees. You know, it's all the fees are negotiable. The buyer may not always pay the survey. The seller may not always pay the title commitment. So in Texas, and I know some of you are not watching from the state of Texas. In Texas, the title estimated sheets are actually being created from the title companies. And I'm really excited to introduce Andrew. Andrew's going to walk through actually ENV Title is one of the title companies that I use. They actually have their estimated net sheets on their website, open for agents to use. I think it's a great resource. I'm really excited. I personally use ENV Title's net sheet because I like the way it simplifies that accounting. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people are scared at doing math. They're scared at looking at a spreadsheet. So in my opinion, ENV Title in Texas does a great job at presenting that complicated data and platform in a format that's easy for the buyers and sellers to read. So I'm going to let Andrew jump in here, introduce himself and his background. He's been in the business a while now. He's also been an educator in our industry. He is a continuing education educator. So if you get a chance to connect with Andrew and jump on one of his classes, they are amazing. So very excited to welcome him as a guest here today from ENV Title. And like I said, we're very excited about the why today. The why of these classes are to level up, to help you success in your business as a real estate agent, help your clients be successful from start to finish. And really, as I want to say it was Emily that's been preaching this in our office, setting those expectations. Because if you set the expectation, even if it might be a little disappointing or not what they want, at least the buyer and the seller knew it from the beginning, so they can have time to absorb all of that information. Because let's face it, guys, when we get an offer and it's crunch time, it's really hard for them to take in all that information, especially if it's a disappointing information or it's not what they expected. So I'm going to let Andrew take it away. He's going to take the floor. And Andrew, thank you so much again for being here.
Thanks for having me, everybody. So I'm Andrew. I'm the education director. I'll share our ENV Title so you can all see our website here. I'm the education director at ENV Title. What that means is I do training all over the state of Texas. I go to Laredo. I go over to Houston. We're about to go down to the Valley. We go anywhere, Dallas, all over, wherever people need us in Texas, we go and we train. I'm also a CE certified, and for most of my life, I'm a military scientist for the military, for medical stuff. So I have a crazy. I like to learn stuff and do different things. I went back to school. I had enough degrees in business and masters in digital marketing. So we're here to help you guys build your business, do business plans, anything business wise. We want to be there to be of value and something for you. And then of course, here today, I'm with E&V Title, of course. I'm their education director I mentioned. We do have an office in San Antonio and Laredo, hopefully a couple other places soon. So we're going to get into the net sheet that we offer. Now, I noticed in the comments, a lot of people are saying they have their Excel sheet, which is great. The reason I highly recommend doing it if you're in Texas and you cover with this way is we pull our net sheet. You'll see when we get into it right from the underwriters that do the title work. So it's not like we don't randomly just pick it. We know the exact what it costs for your clients to get their title. Okay, so it's very easy. It's a much, much more verified number. It's, of course, the closing disclosure at the end is the best number to give you the final number, but this puts you very, very close, usually within a couple $100 of where you're going to be. So it's very good value, that situation. The hardest part of the net sheet that we have is getting the account, because you do have to make an account because you are going into underwriting system. So all you do is go to envtitle.com, and I'll put it in the chat if anyone's going to follow along. And then you're just going to click net sheet. And when the net sheet opens up, like it does, you're going to hit create an account. Like I said, the longest thing to do is to create the account. You have to verify your email, verify your phone number. And then once you're verified, you'll be able to sign in. And then once you're signed in, it'll look like this, and it will say log in first AM, things like that, and it'll log you right in. And then you have these different offers here when you verify yourself and get set up. So we do have the seller net sheet, the sell to net. So if you want to just see how much they need to walk away, you can check multiple offers. They do have a buyer one here but it's not, I hate to say that, but it's not great. We're going to go over with Lindsay another time, a buyer one that we put together that's better. There's a refinancing. We can also help you with farming, and we have print solutions. You won't see these two options on your side right away. We have to give you access to them. And then farming, we do a lot. We've helped one agent now. I think she's at 16 listings in the last year, and over half of those are from the farming that we help them do. And that's very inexpensive to help you do that. But today we're going to go right here to the seller net sheet. So all you do is you make your account, you go in, you click seller net, and it opens up. And then your seller name, I'm just going to put my own name for right now. And then the address, I'm just going to put in an address. So there's an address. Once you have an address in the name, it'll automatically pull that. This is a residential property. So again, address, what it is, the type of property, transaction type. If you're doing a regular one with a mortgage, if it's not a cash sale, you just click that. I'm going to say the sale price is $650,000. And then if you know the loan balance, I'm going to pretend it's, I don't know, we'll say 450, easy numbers. You'll know the loan balance, and then you usually will pick an estimated closing date. You know, today's the 6th, so you want to pick right about 30 days from the estimated closing date you pick. And that puts all your information in. And then when you hit calculate, it's going to kick over. Let it load up. And it gives you the numbers right away. Now, there's a couple things you want to do at this point. It automatically does your taxes based on a 2.3% property tax. That's just kind of the Texas average. So if your taxes are lower or higher, you can go ahead and change that. Like in San Antonio, we have a lot of 100% disabled. If I put 0 there, it would change it to 0. And then it automatically updates the net sheet. So I'm going to go back and I'll say it's 1.5%. And you can see it's a live document. It automatically changes it for you. And then of course, right here, you can change your commission. It does that automatic. Any HOA fees are right there. Now, let's say you have seller concessions. You have something like that that you want to put in there. Now, the other thing you can put, like right here, these are the normal fees, like the seller usually pays their title policy. But if the buyer was paying for the title policy and you changed it, or you could split it 50-50, you can adjust those things right there, and it makes it very easy. Now, if you have, like I said, seller concessions, you want to put in a home warranty, residential service contract, things like that, you would just hit add fees. And when it loads up, so right here, I can add like seller concessions. And if I don't see it in there, I can just click add fee at the bottom and it gives me another spot. So I'm going to add seller concessions, and then it automatically changes to $1. let's say you're going to go to 4,000 and it automatically changes it right here as well.
Hey, Andrew, can you do something for me? You know, a live example that I do is, could you do me a favor and add some fees for me? So, on this property, say, you know, I'm presenting to the sellers and, you know, we're going to go with the expectation of the current market, and the current market expectation is, you know, you don't have a survey, so we need to write that in. So this is the section where I'll actually put in survey. You know, with this house, I talked to the surveyor. The surveyor, what do you think, Andrew? $4,000. Okay, $3,000 for the survey. And this is a great way to add line items. Another item that I would add into is we're an aggressive market at this time, and sellers concessions are a big deal. So the seller concession could be money towards closing costs, but also sometimes what I'll do is I will write out an additional fee instead of seller's concession. I'll itemize it and say buyers representation commission concessions. And what I'll do is I'll separate the potential buyer's representation commission from my already negotiated commission. So that way they can see that it's not lumped in together.
So here's your seller's concession. So what we did with that one, we hit add fees. It went to seller's concession. For what you're talking about, Lindsay, at the bottom where it said broker fee, I would change that to 3%.
Absolutely.
And then it just changes to 1%. Then it would change that to 1%. And then I would go to add fees, like you just said, and I would add a fee. And then I would do, you know, buyer's agent commission.
And the reason why I do this, Andrew and the team, is I'm basing this net sheet based on my listing agreement and then potential concessions that are popular in the market to get the property sold to meet their goal. We never want to make the buyer or the buyer's agent the bad guy. However, we do want to set the expectation that we are in a buyer's market and buyers are coming to the table negotiating these concessions. And so kind of like instead of an Excel spreadsheet, this is a great itemized list. And I always advocate for agents to itemize. Don't bulk in the buyer's commission into your commission. So it's very clear that if they want to reduce a concession, they can make the decision. Well, do you want to split closing costs with, like Andrew said, the title? Do you want to split the title commitment? Do you want to split the survey costs? Do you want to take and split the buyer's commission? That way your commission that you've already negotiated is not a target. I hope that makes sense.
Exactly.
Thank you, Andrew, because I love that additional fee. And you know what? That it's also really amazing because we never know what we're getting into. There may be liens on this property we need to add that are going to be covered at closing. There may be invoices. And I hope you guys are seeing why I love this. Look at that little bar up top. I think it's such a great example and it really pops and it's not intimidating whatsoever.
And then you can easily just download them once you get it. If you want to download it, you just hit download. And there it is. It lets me take it and put it there in my downloads, and then I can have it ready to go. The other thing that you can do here, see it's ready to go. It looks just the same, easy for the client to read, easy to understand the fees and the total closing costs after everything. It even adds it up for them. Now, the other thing you can do is if you don't have this open order with us yet, and you know that you have an open and you have a contract coming, you can click place order. And once you click place order, it will actually open up the order with us and let us know, and it will send it directly to the agent, our escrow agents here, to let them know that an order is coming. And that way we can prepare a file based on that, on the seller's name and the address, and we can have all that ready to go. So when your order comes in, it saves us from having to open an order and spend time doing that. That gets your title work done even more quickly. And this is just really good. Now, these fees here, as you can see, these are set. We don't change these because these are set by the state. So that's the important, like I mentioned, it's important to do it this way. So you have the exact fees set by the state that aren't changeable. These are just the state fees that we have set. And then you can add. Now, I don't have a home warranty in here, so I could add that as well, you know, add fee. add fee again, and then we could add a home warranty in there. Anything else that you wanted to put in there. And it's pretty much that simple. And it makes it very simple to just go through and add those in there and make it happen. Does anyone have any questions?
That's awesome. I wish we had that in Iowa with our closing companies.
Yeah, they don't have them there, or they do something
Well,
different.
not this like specific like system going on.
Well, we're not in Iowa yet, but who knows?
I know, but I'm just saying like that's a good system.
It is. It's honestly, all joking aside, it's been very useful. It makes it very easy for everyone to understand.
I've been using it for, gosh, ever since Neffy's the owner of EMV Title, since they developed this. And it wasn't always perfect, but the guide, setting the expectations, because for me, this has been a game changer at the listing appointment stage. The fact that I can go through and based on the market, explain to the clients really what their expectations are when we get an offer. So you actually get to have that offer conversation rather than having the anxiety of this like right at the table and they're not sure and they don't have, you have 48 hours to accept the offer. Also too, a lot of clients don't understand tax proration. Andrew, do you want to talk about that just a little bit? You're kind of on that section right now, if you don't mind.
Yep. So for tax prorations, so we're talking about tax prorations. That would be once you, as you all know, when you have a deal that closes, say you close on July, the seller is the one who's responsible for paying the taxes up to the closing date. So that's going to be done. Now, if it's military, we had this happen the other day. That's why I showed you down here at that 1.5%. If you have military and it's 0%, so if you're the seller and 100% disabled vet is buying your home, which happens a lot in Texas, when that happens, you can put 0% in here, and that will let them know that they're going to make more money back as they don't have to pay any taxes. Now, you do have to pay up to the closing date. That's why we recommend you, when you do the estimated closing date here on the right, that you always do 30 days ahead. That way you get the correct, don't put today's date as the closing date, because you're going to have more taxes gathered for the next 30 days.
You know what, Andrew, I wanted to add to that as well. So when you're doing your CMAs and you talk about days on the market, if your client's going to select a price that's going to have elevated days on the market, what I end up doing is, especially on the land side of things, is that sometimes it takes 90 days to a year to sell a property. So what I'll do is tell a client, if we're coming in, I looked at the days on the market, it seems to be, 90 to 120 days. I will set that estimated closing date out to that 90 to 120 days. That way the proration is closer to the real life expectation of what's going on in the market. So the fact that we can adjust this based on what the market is, as well as your client may select a price that's gonna, and we've seen it, guys, last year, we had properties on the market for over 200 days. And, if they select that elevated price that may deter buyers, you can set the expectation here with, based on this price point, we're looking at a 90-day closing based on this selected price point, based on the market and the competitive market analysis. You're looking at a 200-day close and this particular price point. So I think that actually helps to set that expectation. I love that EMV Title has done this. And like I said, when it turns around to be a buyer's market, it may only be, 30-day closing, 15-day closing, things of that nature. Also, too, we've seen it when it's a seller's market. We've seen, zero seller's concession, splitting title company costs, splitting the survey costs, paying for all the survey. So the fact that you can customize this based on the market and based on client expectation, I think to me is really amazing. And also sets, like we had said, sets expectations based on the market, understanding what the expected closing costs are going to be so the client can budget and make a sound decision on that listing price. I know a lot of people only use this when they get an offer. However, my business has leveled up. When I do a CMA, I will also bring this net seller sheet to the closing table, to the listing table, so they can see, listen, in this market, and I never like to use the words worst case scenario, but in this market, if we receive an aggressive buyer's offer, this is some seller's consideration and closing costs you might need to be prepared for. Does that all make sense, everybody?
Yeah, just real quick, Lindsay, I know we're on a lot of time. I want to just share one of the quick things with you guys on that same kind of idea. So we have our MLS, of course. So if you're in your MLS, you should be able to do this for any MLS, and you know that you're going to have an aggressive offer. I'm just opening up that same subdivision that I pulled that example from. So if you just pull up that same subdivision and you pull the sold for the last 12 months or whatever the months back you want to do, and there's 19, if you view all the results and highlight them, you can hit this little button at the top, which is your CMA graph next to the car. And this breaks down everything for you instantly. And I know that most people do between 8,000 to 10,000 seller concessions for every single home that is sold. The median is $10,000. So when I sit down with my client, they need to know that they're probably going to pay about 10 grand for seller concessions. That's just how it is. So they can fight it all they want, but the numbers don't lie. And this is what everyone has paid in the last year.
That's a great point. Going back to, it's the market.
Yep.
It's the market that we're in. Now that market may change, but you're setting that expectation. Okay, Mr. Seller, you want to sell your home in 30 to 90 days. I've pulled all the data. To do that, you need to be priced within this price range. And then also within this price range, this is what the market closing costs are coming in at. So like I said, I try to steer clear of making the buyer and the buyer's agent the bad guy in the words that I'm using, because it's not their fault. It's the market. Because remember, when it flips to a seller's market, this sheet has completely different data that we enter. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you so much, Andrew, for bringing that up, because we base our CMA price point to the seller based on the data that's coming in sold price. But what a lot of people don't pay attention to is the seller's concessions that are attached to that sold price.
Exactly. If they're willing to do more, and then if you add enough concessions and they're using that, you can talk to their agent, you can add extra concessions, get a higher price, buy the rate down, their monthly payment is lower. And then at that point, you save money for your buyer and your seller gets more money to walk away from the table with. You can do a win-win. You just have to understand how to run the numbers.
All right, guys, I'm going to pause for a second. Do y'all have any questions? Any questions for Andrew? Any questions for me?
No, I don't. This was good though. I mean, it's what I use, but I think this is incredible. And thanks for that extra tip on the MLS.
Thank you. Anytime, guys, we're here to help. And if you have any questions or need me to show you the tip one-on-one or a Zoom call, please reach out. There's no issue, guys. We're here to help. I'll put in the chat. I'll put in my my email and my phone number. Please reach out. We're here to help.
Absolutely. And I wanted to let you guys know, because net sheets and budgeting is a lot of information. We're doing this in a two-part series. We were going to cover today, we're going to cover the seller side and the listing side of this tool and how it can be used not only at the offer stage, but at the listing stage. And then part two, which we will announce and will be coming up soon, we will be doing a part two on the buyers and buyer's agent side of using these types of tools to help set clients' expectations for offers. Because let's face it, guys, how many agents will blindly say, oh, well, their budget's $400,000. They'll go look at $400,000 homes. They'll do the net sheet and realize, oh my goodness, my client can't afford to pay the insurance. My client can't afford to pay the taxes. My client didn't have enough money down. So, you know, you actually ended up showing them homes that weren't in their budget, even though they were approved for a certain amount, because we didn't back out those considerations and those closing costs. So really excited to have Andrew back. Like I said, guys, if you want to rewatch this, we are streaming on all of our channels. Thank you so much again, Andrew. We greatly appreciate it. And we want to thank ENV Title for going above and beyond and creating this amazing tool.
Thanks for having us, guys. We appreciate it. We're here to help anyone in the whole state of Texas, any closings. We specialize in everything, especially farm, ranch, and commercial. Nephew, you know, he's on the call. That's his jive. We've been doing that forever. So we're here to help you guys.
Perfect. Well, I love you. You guys have a special place in my heart. Sometimes I can't always use you guys, but sometimes it's situational. It isn't always a good fit, but they've always been there for me every time that we work together.